change yourself. The Guru gives a beautiful example when he talks about Sangat, and he talks about be the fragrance that is so beautiful that it starts to radiate and that everything else around you starts to become fragrant with your fragrance. I want you to first answer this question. How do I feel about my life right now? Have a little think. How do I feel about my life? What word, what emotion do I associate with my life right now? Give yourself a moment, close your eyes, have a think. What word do I associate with my life? What feelings do I associate with my life right now? Maybe even write it down. Now, what feelings would you like to associate with your life? How would you like your life to feel? Have a think. How do I change my life? How do I get there? Guru Amar Das Ji, the third Guru, explains to us, "E man, jaisa seve, taisa hove, tehe karam kamaye." O my mind, as you serve, so do you become. So are the deeds that you do. Aap beej ape hi khavana, kehna kichu na jaye. Whatever you plant, that is what you shall have to eat. Nothing else can be said about this fact. So, I simplify that in this way. What I serve, I become. What I sow, I receive. Where you are in your life is a direct consequence of what you have been sowing all this time. Every day before you, what have you been sowing? That's what you are receiving at this very moment in life. What I serve, I become. Do I serve my thoughts? Do I serve my mind? Do I serve positive affirmations, or do I serve negative words that I say about myself? How do I feel about my life? What life mantras are you repeating to yourself every day? What I serve, I become. Whatever you serve, that is what life is going to turn out like. Whatever you think, that is how you're going to feel. What I sow, I receive. So how do I change my life? What spiritual goals do you have for yourself? There's a feeling about how life should feel, but what are the things that I'd like to be doing with my life? What should my life be like? Do you want to be waking up early in the morning? Some people will talk about they want to grow my hair. Some people will talk about I want to be learning a bit more Gurbani, or I want to feel happier, or I want to feel spiritually awakened, or I just want a better experience of my day-to-day life. What are those actual things? Let's start looking at those. And can we just do an ardas and hope for the best? Is that our tradition? You have an idea about what life should be like, and then you just ask the magic genie, and maybe you'll get it and maybe you won't. Or maybe there's something that you can actually do. How would you like to be spiritually in the near future? What should your tomorrow be like? So, the way we start doing it is we start to list some actual habits of what you would like to adopt and change. So, answer the first question on page 11. List some spiritual practices and well-being traits that you would like to adopt to improve your life. Try to put them in order of priority. What does that look like for you? What is a better life? What is more spirituality in your life? What does it tangibly look like? Neurons that fire together wire together. Let's talk a little bit about that. Something to think about. Why aren't you doing the things in your spiritual goals? Your spiritual goals, the list that you've just made, why aren't you doing them? Why aren't you doing that? How many people here set New Year's resolutions? Yeah, I don't bother anymore either. It's too hard, right? We're all old enough, mature enough to know that it doesn't work. Yeah? How many of you people have tried setting New Year's resolutions and then the following year it's the same resolutions? Yep, it's the same one. Still got to do that. Yep. I got to a point in my life where I was setting the same resolutions every year. The only thing I was doing was changing the year. That's the only thing I was doing. I was literally looking at the whole list going, 2014, 2015, 2016, same list. Why aren't I doing those things? We got to identify why these things don't seem to happen. And in order to do that, we need to understand how our habits have been formed. Why do we behave the way we do, but we have an idea about how we want to behave, how we want to live our life? And in order to do that, we need to understand a little bit about our habits. And most of the time, we don't identify us as the issue. If we're not doing something, more often than not, we try to look at reasons outside of us. And actually, that's a very important step. So the first step in this journey of actually going forward is to identify your blockers. Set a goal, and then the first step is to actually work out what is the actual reason why I'm not doing that. So let's take a perfect example. Let's say your example is, I want to wake up every morning early and I want to meditate. Actually work out what is the reason why I'm not doing that. Your external blockers. That's quite a good one because that's all the things that you can blame. I blame my kids, I blame my alarm clock, I blame the weather, I blame my job. Let's actually start blaming those things. Yeah? So the first thing is, let's look at all of those things. So, spiritual development. Number one, identify blockers. But the mistake that we make is we always go straight for the external blockers. And while it's useful to do that, there's another list that you should be making as well, and that's to identify, okay, I can blame this and I can blame that and I can blame all those things, but what are my reasons why I'm not doing it? Maybe my bed's just too comfortable. Maybe I just don't feel like it. Maybe I'm not actually motivated enough to do it. I like the sound of it, but I'm not actually committed to that idea. Start taking responsibility for some of those internal reasons. But it's very important as a first step to say, if I want to get to this goal, what's the reason why I'm not at this goal? What's the actual barriers towards that? Your external blockers are things that you can't control. You can't control your kids, you can't control the weather, you can't control the hours that you got to go to work. You can't control all of those things. Fine. Blame them, put them in your list. Now let's get serious and let's talk about the stuff that you can control. What is the stuff that you can say, actually, I could do a better job of doing this? Yeah? So let's start identifying what those things are. The problem is, you'll realize that you can write them down, but you can't necessarily shake them. They're habits. They're just the ways that you've started to do things. And so we need to go a little bit deeper and to understand, why do I behave the way I behave? Where does a habit come from? So, a habit is something that you do again and again and again, a decision that gets easier every time to make, to the point at which it's no longer a decision that you make, it's just habitual. It's just something that you do without making a decision. So, let me give you a simple example. Let's say you get a new job, and on the first day, somebody's showing you around, and walking you around the job and saying, this is where your desk is, and this is where the loos are, and this is where the kitchen is, and there's a coffee machine there. Feel free to go and have a look. So you turn up on the first day, you look at this coffee machine, one of those really complicated ones with 50 different buttons, and you're reading this espresso, Nescafe, Bros, latte. You're reading all the options. I don't know what all these things are. Okay, I'm just going to try one. Cappuccino, I'm going to try that. Give it a go. Yep, drink it. I like it. Not bad. Next day, you come into work. You look at the same machine. I still don't know what they all mean. I'll just stick with cappuccino. Worked out well yesterday. Not a problem. Come back in the third day. Yeah, cappuccino. Week 1, week 2, week 3 goes by. Now you don't even think. You just go in, cappuccino, thank you very much. And you just start your work. You don't think. It's part of like you go past the kitchen just to make your coffee. 2 months into it, you walk straight into work, and one of your colleagues says, boss wants to have a word with you. You need to go straight into a meeting. What's your first reaction? Hang on, I haven't had my coffee yet. Yeah? And if that starts becoming a habit of people start saying to you, you got to come in straight away, you're already late, you got to do this. You start saying, I can't start my morning without my morning coffee. All of a sudden, without you knowing, a decision that you made once that was hard to make in the beginning, every day became easier and easier and easier to the point at which you no longer need to make that decision. But when that decision becomes so ingrained within you that you can now no longer function without doing that, that's where a habit has become an addiction. You can't function like, I can't start without my morning coffee. And this is a very simple example, but actually we create habits out of a whole range of things. We even create habits about how we deal with certain individuals. So we're all happy, smiley. As soon as somebody comes in that we don't like, no matter even if they haven't said anything, we go straight for the reaction. Like, I'm always going to treat this person badly because of something that they did years ago. We create a habit out of everything. So first thing you have to do is start to identify what are your internal blockers, i.e. what are my habits that are stopping me? Because 9 times out of 10, you haven't even identified what your habits are that are stopping you from doing these things.
Have you found that spiritual teachings are great to learn, but not always easy to apply to your own life? Sometimes we all need a bit of support and guidance from people who know what we're going through and can help us find some answers. The Nanak Naam Facebook group helps you do just that. It's an online community where you can ask any questions about life and get answers from other members of the group. Search for Nanak Naam Community Support and join our free Facebook group today.
And an addiction is a habit that has become so ingrained within you. The definition of an addiction is anything that you can't say no to. Anything that you can't say no to. Even if you want to, you can't say no. Now start thinking about what can't I say no to. And it can be small things. For me, it's sugar. Can't say no to it. Anytime something's sweet in front of me, even if I don't need it, somebody puts it in front of me, I just have to eat it. Like, I don't think about it. And even if I don't want to eat it, it's like, but it's there, so I'll have it. We're all addicted to something or another. Everyone, now think about what are your addictions. So, it's easy to identify what our habits are. The hard thing is now, how do I break free from my habits? How do I actually move forward? How am I stopping myself? So habits are automatic, unconscious thoughts and behaviors. What you are going to find is going to be really difficult is to be able to overcome your habits. Now, the reason it's going to be really difficult to overcome your habits is because if we're honest with ourselves, we like our habits. They are rewarding us. I'll take the simple example of not getting out of bed in the morning. Why? Because whatever it is that I have to get out of bed for is not as rewarding as my warm, cozy bed. True? Don't demonize your habits. because in reality, they're actually something that you enjoy doing. Now think about any habits or any addictions that you have in your life. You know what they are. Nobody else needs to know. You enjoy them. They are rewarding to you. So unless this new goal is more rewarding than your habits, you're never actually going to do it. The new goal has to be rewarding. There's got to be a reason to get out of bed. But we don't do that because the rewards of our spiritual goals seem far away. Yeah, I know I should get up every morning and meditate, but that feels like it's got a long benefit to me. I'm sure in the end it'll be beneficial. But what we do is we trade long-term goals and long-term rewards for short-term rewards. Yes, it's going to be good for me to wake up in the morning in the long run, but right now I'm in my warm, cozy bed. So we trade in long-term rewards for short-term quick wins. How do we start to change our thinking? Now, interestingly, this is where ardas comes in. What do you do with your ardas? So far, we've been thinking about ardas as, oh, magic God in the sky, here's my shopping list of all the things I like. You go sort it out. I'm going to go back and watch telly. You do it. I've told you my list. Go for it. Right? But maybe we should have a different definition of ardas. Think about this. In the ardas that's done in the Gurdwara, one of the things that we ask for is to protect me from Kaam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. Save me from getting angry. Save me from indulging in my desires, from being too greedy, from being too selfish, from having too many attachments, too much self-importance. Now guess what? If you did that as a genuine request every morning, what you start to do is you start to reprogram your priorities in your life. Imagine your goals on your list becomes your morning ardas. Every morning my ardas is, I would like my life to be like this. What's going to start happening? You will start to reprogram your mind to actually align yourself with your new set of priorities. So even though being in your warm, cozy bed is good and comfortable, there's going to be an irritating voice inside your head that says, I really want to do this. I really want to be that person on that list. So ardas can be seen as the process of realigning us towards our long-term goals, rather than asking Sky Daddy to do stuff for us. Realigning your own thought processes so that you start thinking about your long-term goals. But remember the rewards thing. If the reward isn't there, you're not going to do it. No matter how good you think you want to be, you're not going to do it. So, step number 2 is to give yourself some rewards. So, identify some rewards for yourself. Actually start to say, you know what? I'm just going to pick one habit for now. And if I do that for a certain number of days, I'm going to treat myself. Because that's an incentive. That's a short-term incentive. Do you see how it works? You're now no longer saying, if I wake up and do my Amrit Vela every day, for the rest of my life, I'll be a good person when I die. Like, that's the long-term reward. Actually start to give yourself some short-term rewards. Why would I want to get out of bed? Why would I want to do these things? Give yourself a little reward. But bear in mind, make your rewards proportional. Because you don't want to say, I woke up for Amrit Vela, for the next 7 days, now I think I need to buy myself a Mercedes. Right? I deserve that. I really deserve that. Make it proportional. Yeah? Because we're not trying to trick our brains here. We actually have to work with our brains. If you try and do something that doesn't seem proportional, your brain's going to say, hey, this just doesn't make sense. I'm not actually going to do it. The second advice that I would give you is actually give yourself that reward. Because you could wake up every morning and do it and then say, yeah, that reward thing, that just sounds a bit silly. I'm not actually going to do it. You know what? You're going to fall off the wagon. And then the next time you actually want to get back on the wagon and actually get back onto your spiritual goals, your brain is going to remember, you didn't actually give me that reward. There was actually no reward at the end of it. There was no reason for me to do it. So actually give yourself a reward. Now, this is starting to sound a little bit weird. You're going to say, well, okay, this all sounds quite good, personal development sort of stuff. Is any of this stuff related to Gurmat? Does any of this stuff actually align with Gurmat? Well, let me tell you a story. This is a story about a little boy. There was a little boy whose mother always used to say to him, I really want you to wake up in the morning and do your prayers. He's like, oh, Mom, I don't want to do it. She says, go on, do it today. Make sure you do it. He says, all right, Mom. He goes and he does his prayers. And while he's doing his prayers, his mum comes along and leaves a little sweet there. So that when he opens his eyes, he's like, oh, Mom, it worked. I was doing my prayers and then look, God gave me a sweet. And then she said, Shabash, that's good, that's good. Maybe you should do it again tomorrow. He said, yeah, Mom, I will do it tomorrow. Comes back, does his little prayers. And then sure enough, he wakes up in the morning. There's a sweet there. Mom, it worked. It's fantastic. And he did this again and again and again and again. And then one day, the mother ran out of sweets. And at the end of it, he wakes up, he opens his eyes, and the mother apologizes. Sorry, son, there's no sweets today. He says, you know what, Mom? It's okay. My meditation was the reward today. You know whose story that is? That is the story of Sheikh Farid. One of the saints who's written in Gurbani, that's his story. So when we're talking about identify your blockers and identify rewards and reward yourself, this is in alignment with our own tradition. So don't feel like some of the stuff that we talk about is just wishy-washy. This is good. This works for you. What rewards are you going to give yourself? Start thinking about those. What rewards do you need to break your internal blockers? What rewards do you need to change your habits? The next thing, as is your company, so is your condition. So the next step in spiritual development is to identify your influences. Who or what is making me do what I do? Who or what makes you aspire towards your goals? And who or what influences you not to achieve them? One of the most important factors of how you think, how you feel, how you act, how you behave is how you are accompanying yourself. Who is it that is influencing the way you think? Who is it that is influencing the way you speak? And this word is called Sangat. In Gurmat, it's called Sangat. Sang means that which I keep near me, that which is near me. What do I keep near me? I'll give you a perfect example. My oldest son comes back from school one day and he says, Dad, I want to have a football kit. I'm like, okay, son, I'll get you a football kit. And he said, I don't just want to have a football kit. I want to have the whole thing. I want to have the long socks and I need to have stud boots. I said, son, stud boots are played on the grass. Your school doesn't have any grass. You play in the car park. He's like, I don't care, Dad. I must have it. Once a week or once a month, we do go to the local park and we have to do it. Okay, son, fine. I went, I bought him it. He wore it a couple of times, realized that he doesn't actually play football on the grass. And then he comes back and he says, Dad, I need to have AstroTurf boots. And I'm like, what on earth are AstroTurf boots? And you don't play on AstroTurf. You play in the car park, just wear your trainers. He's like, no, Dad, everybody's wearing AstroTurf boots. So I go and I Google it, and sure enough, there's a thing called AstroTurf boots. They look like football boots, but they don't have the studs. Right, I buy him the AstroTurf boots. And all of this happened because he joined an after-school football club. And so what was happening is he was going to his after-school football club. The first day he went in just a normal t-shirt and tracksuit bottoms. But then he was influenced by all the cool-looking kids who can play football really well, and they all seem to be wearing all the right gear. And he said, that's why I'm not playing football well. I'm not wearing the right clothes, or I'm not wearing the right shoes. And maybe the other kids were teasing him, saying, hey, what are you wearing? Yeah, we're the good football players, you're not. It's a very simple example that demonstrates how easily we're influenced by the people around us. And so the next time he wants these boots and he wants those boots, and all of that has not made one bit of difference in his football skills. He's quite good, but the clothes make no difference. So we are actually very influenced by the people around us, and there's a psychological reason for that. If you think about human beings, I always like to think about human beings, and when I try to understand them, I try to understand them from looking at how do tribal cultures and indigenous cultures live. If you look at those indigenous cultures and humans who are still kind of living in forests and little tribes and things like that, what you'll notice is human beings are tribal animals. There are two types of animals in the world. The ones who live within a community and the ones who live on their own. Like a polar bear, for example. That's a perfect example. Polar bears live on their own. Their whole life, they absolutely just walk around, go and sleep and eat and feed and just do everything on their own. Every now and then they might find a mate, they might mate, but then after that, the polar bear, the daddy polar bear is off. He's got no interest in looking after a family or being in a community. That's just how they are. Human beings, we're not polar bears. We live in tribes. And part of being tribal animals is that we want to do what the tribe wants to do. Human beings are created in such a way that we don't actually want to stand out from the tribe. We don't want to be somebody who stands out from the crowd. We actually want to fit in. We actually want to do what everyone else is doing. And you can now start thinking about all the things that you do in life is actually based on who you choose to hang out with, who you choose to allow to influence you. Look at the clothes that you're wearing. We don't have a wide range of different costumes here. Nobody is wearing some beautifully colored African dresses. Nobody came today in some Japanese outfits. Nobody is wearing even Indian clothes. Why? Why are you all dressed like people from the country that you live in? Because you are influenced by that, because you see something and you just fit in. That's how we're made. It's not a judgment. But when you start to understand how much influence your influences are, then you will start to realize that maybe I need to change who my influences are in order to change what my habits are. Why? Because you're not a polar bear. But guess what? Your influences are not just people. Your Sangat are not just people. Your Sangat are the things that you allow to influence you. So, the TV programs that you watch is your Sangat. The music that you listen to is your Sangat. The people that you follow on social media is your Sangat. The news that you expose yourself to is your Sangat. Let me give you a perfect example. So, about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, I pulled out my New Year's resolution, and one of the things on there was to eat healthy and to do a bit more exercise. And I thought, okay, I've got a bit of time on my hands, I'll start doing that. Start getting out all the exercise bikes and the rowing machines from the garage, dust them all off, and all the weights and the dumbbells and all those sorts of things. Start doing all the training, pruning, all that sort of stuff, getting my muscles all big and stuff like that, right? What was the first thing that I did? You know what the first thing that I did was? I went on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, but there's loads of these bodybuilding sings. Have you seen them? Like fitness sing, strong sing, strength sing, all these sorts of things, right? And I went and I was just like, yep, follow all of them. Why? Because every day when I'm scrolling through my Instagram, I'm seeing and I'm allowing myself to be influenced by these people. Because if I keep looking at these things, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. I need to feel like that. I want to become like that. Now, clearly it hasn't worked. Don't laugh. But I chose my influences. I made a choice. I'm going to be influenced by these people. Now have a think about who are the people that you're following on social media. Who are you allowing to make you think the way you think? Who are you allowing? So identify your influences. The next step is actually pick one. Pick a goal and actually start doing it. So, the fourth step is to start with one goal. Don't give yourself too many goals, folks. Start with one. Where do I start? How do I start? And the way you start is you stop asking all the questions that you have about spirituality. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Do we have free will? Do we not? Are we supposed to take Amrit? All of these sorts of stuff. Let's put all of those questions aside for a moment, look at your list and say, which one am I actually going to do? Regardless of what I know and how spiritual I am and where I want to be in life and all those sorts of things, which one? What am I actually going to start with? Start with one habit. Have we heard that before? Bhai Gurdas Ji, take one step towards the Guru's shelter and the Guru carries you for millions more. Take one step closer. I don't want you guys to think that this is something else. This is Gurmat. To actually break these things down and say, what am I going to do next? Bhai Gurdas Ji recommends this. We've all heard these things before. Take one step towards your Guru. What is that one step? What do I do? You know what we tend to do? Is we tend to think, Guru, I took that one step a while ago. Why haven't you done the rest? Like I did it. Maybe I took Amrit. Or maybe I stopped eating this. Or maybe I started doing this. Or maybe I started doing that. I did all that. Where's the millions of steps? Well, maybe you don't just take one step. Maybe you take one step every day. Maybe every day is a one step. Maybe every moment is, what am I doing now to be closer? What am I doing next? What's my next step? And which one should I start with? Which one is the one that is the most important to me. One of the things that has been a real powerful motivator in my life is when I read the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. And there, Stephen Covey says that in our life, we have a circle, which is this outer circle. And he calls it the circle of concerns. And this is the questions that you have in your mind. Should I do this? Should I not do that? Am I supposed to do this? Am I not supposed to do that? What should I wear? What should I be doing? But what about this and what about that? All the sorts of questions that have been coming up throughout this session. But chances are a lot of those things are things that actually don't affect you right now. Sometimes a lot of these questions are very just philosophical questions. Do I have a soul? Do I not have a soul? Do we have free will? What I'm saying to you is it's good to have those philosophical debates at some point. It's good to try and understand those things, but it's also good to put them to one side and say, those are all the things that I'm worried about. But then Stephen says that you've got an inner circle. That's the circle of influence. That's the stuff that you can actually do something about. So forget about all the big things. What can I actually do? And he calls that the circle of influence. And he says your circle of influence can be very small. Start with a small circle of what do I actually want to achieve? What can I do? So you can say, I want to become one with the oneness. That's a big goal. Let's just make that on the circle of concern, but inside the circle of influence saying, right, well, what can I do first? What's my first step? And what he says in the book is that as you do more and more things in your circle of influence, as you actually achieve them, your influence increases. You're able to do more and more things. When you hit one goal, then you can hit another goal and then another. And then slowly, your circle of influence starts becoming bigger and bigger, and it starts going into the circle of concerns. You can start tackling all the things that you're worried about. But don't start with all of those things. Start with something small. Take one step. So it's not sometimes about asking all of these great questions about the meaning of life. Maybe it's just, well, what am I going to do now with it? Start with one habit.
A recent study has shown that over 75% of Sikhs say that their life feels stressful or overwhelming. These feelings can develop into depression, alcohol abuse, or even suicide. We believe that Guru Nanak's wisdom can help transform people's lives. Nanak Naam relies on your donation to help create more videos and podcasts like this to educate people all over the world on how to use Guru Nanak's teachings to improve their emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. Set up a monthly donation today and help change someone's life. Visit nanaknaam.org/donate.
So I hope that this has given you just a very simple process. It sounds quite straightforward, but believe me, actually doing them becomes hard. Actually starting to make a decision that I'm going to change this one habit in my life. But when you do, it's so empowering. When you make that one step, when you actually change one thing, then you can start to track your progress. Look, most of us have professional jobs. If you went to work and at no point you were monitored, at no point did your manager sit down with you and say, right, we set some goals last month. How did you do? Are you achieving them? What would you do? You'd do nothing. Why don't we apply those same professional techniques that we do with our business world into our personal life and say, actually, I'm going to start progressing my development. Because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to be in the same situation, or next year you're going to come back to this course and you're going to try the same things again. You're going to listen to the same talks again. You're going to write the same things down in your booklets. But why don't you actually come back and tell me this time next year, you know what, I did that one thing. It actually changed. I'm actually developing my life. I'm actually going to do something different. What are some of the other steps? Because we've covered a lot in the last couple of sessions, but when you go home, you're going to have to figure out, how do I keep this wisdom going? And the Guru recommends a few things. Number one, create a community of spiritual people. If you had the opportunity to have the kinds of discussions that you've been having in your groups on a regular basis, it will improve your life. If you met up with people once a month and you sat and meditated the way we have, it will change your life. So Sangat, the Guru says, if you want to change your life, create a spiritual community. An actual group of people who live near you, who can meet up on a regular basis and can actually sit down and once a month just say, hey guys, how's it going? I no longer look at Sangat as just a group. I now, for myself, call Sangat therapy. Sangat is a therapy, and it's nothing short of a therapy. And I hope that you would have discovered in the last 2 days that you could go home after having met and spoken to people that, yes, I feel better. Not because of what I've learned, but just because I've been in the presence of other open-minded people. So build a community, and guess what, guys? The groups that you've been in are all people who live near you. Everyone in your group is people from your areas. We did that specifically. So everyone from London is in the London group. Guys, start sharing numbers. Start taking responsibility and saying, you know what, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do it. You 5 guys, let's get our numbers together once a month. Let's meet up and we'll just do a bit of meditation. Maybe we'll watch a video that inspires us, and then we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. Because that is essential. Remember, you're not a polar bear. You cannot do this on your own. It's very difficult. And there's only so far that YouTube videos is going to take you. And for certain people who don't even have access to Sangat, that's all the Sangat they have. And I get messages from people who have been inspired by the Guru, but they live in remote islands, in the most isolated places, and they say, I have no one. I don't have a Gurdwara nearby. Nobody in my family is into these things. I'm completely isolated. The only Sangat I have is online. And if you're not in that situation and you actually have spiritual seekers around you, use them. Be selfish, use them. Let's move past some of your blockers and let's actually progress. But the number one thing that I'm going to share with you that is going to help you in your life is the wisdom that we've covered over the last 2 days. Expose yourself to that wisdom as much as possible. That is straight from the Guru. Stop all of your questions. Stop your feelings of doubt and not being worthy, and I haven't done this, and I haven't bathed today, and I haven't done this, and I eat this, and I smoke this, and I do that. Forget all of that stuff. The Guru is available to everyone. And start accessing that Guru. I'm always saddened by the number of people who don't feel worthy to just go and read Gurbani. They feel like, oh, I'm not worthy, or I'm not an Amritari, I'm not a this and I'm not a that. And I said, the Guru doesn't care. The Guru's your father. Guru Nanak's waiting, because the purpose of Guru Nanak was to share this with you. Start getting into a practice of regularly reminding yourself of these messages. And that could be learning what the Guru is saying. It could be reading English translations of what the Guru is saying. It could be regularly reading. You know what? We've got into some crazy ways of thinking. People think that you got to get up in the morning and do these prayers because the Guru wants you to do them. And I'm like, no, it's for you. It's for me that I get up and read this stuff because it fixes my brain every day. Every day I get a reminder, oh yeah, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm not reading Gurbani every day for the Guru. The Guru didn't write it for his benefit. The Guru wrote it for my benefit. Read Gurbani for you. Fix your mind for you. The Guru is there to fix your mind. That's why the Guru is there. Please stop being afraid of the Guru. In whatever format, in audio format, in electronic media, Hukamnama, Shabad of the Day. I'll tell you one of the things that absolutely changed my life in my earlier spiritual journey. Every day I would go to work, and before I'd open my emails, I would open the Hukamnama of the day. Sikhnet or something like that. I'd go online, open the Hukamnama of the day. Every day, that's the only thing. Before I learned how to do part and all those sorts of things, that's all I would do. Every day. And what I would do, it would help me read my Punjabi, so I'd get a little Punjabi practice, reading a little paragraph. Then I'd read the English translation, so I'd learn, okay, that's an interesting, I didn't know the Guru say that. But then what I started doing was I started pairing words. That Gurbani word translates to that word in English every day. That Gurbani word means that word in English. Very quickly, I started to develop the Guru's vocabulary. So now I'm able to read Gurbani because I did that. Now I'm able to read a Shabad, and I can say, without reading the English translation, I pretty much understand roughly what it's trying to say. I still rely on the English translation sometimes, and I can be like, I don't quite know what that word says. And sometimes I'm able to read the Gurbani and I'm saying, oh, yeah, that English translation is not quite right. Because now I'm starting to read the Gurbani translations in Punjabi. Because I'm now starting to do that exercise with Punjabi. So start making actual steps. That was a first step for me. Actually doing that. Otherwise, people look at you and they say, how do I become like that? Like, I'm not like you. I can't speak like you. I can't explain things like you. I'm nothing. I'm just somebody who's gone through some of these steps. I'm nothing special. I'm not God-gifted in any way. You can understand the Guru's message, but it requires you to have done some of this hard work. So surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with the Guru's wisdom. It's there, it's free, it's available. Surround yourself with a discipline. Create new habits. You know what? It's very easy to fall back into our old habits. Try to create new habits. Maybe that one step that you take, at least commit that every day I'm going to take that one step. So create a discipline. Don't be afraid of discipline. People get too afraid, oh, I don't want to take Amrit, I don't want to wake up so early, I'm going to look a bit weird, I'm going to grow my hair. I said, look, don't worry about all those things. Start with one thing. Why are you talking about the final goal? Just start with one. But create a discipline, whatever that is for you, and says, every day I'm going to do this. What was my discipline? Every day I'd read the Hukamnama before I open my work emails. Simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated. Do something. Now, the real impact is going to start happening when you change all the stuff that we've done away from from mental wisdom into emotional wisdom. When you no longer just understand this oneness from a intellectual, conceptual point of view, but you feel it. You feel the words of the Guru. When you're reading Gurbani, you feel the love that the Guru was talking about. Start realizing that the way you're going to progress is through the heart, through your feelings. The Gurus were nothing but beautiful poets that were expressing so much emotion and love and song and music. I like to call our Gurus songwriters. What were they doing? They were writing songs. They were musicians. They were artists. These are all traits of the heart. So you've got to feel. You've got to feel this wisdom in your life. You've got to feel the oneness in your life. You've got to feel like every single person that you're talking to is a part of you. So start realizing that this isn't intellectual, because you meet intellectual types and they just want to argue with you. And they're like, well, Guru says this and Barney says this and this, and they know more quotes than you. They outquote you. And you stand back and you just say, I don't feel my Guru's words from you. I don't feel my Guru when I speak to you. You get those people. You don't feel them. You feel negativity from them. Don't have them as your Sangat. Create a Sangat like this. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter. I think one of the things that you may have found in these group sessions is no matter what somebody looks like, we're all in the same boat. Everyone's going through some stuff. Yeah? No matter what your impression of them might have been on the outside, everyone's going through stuff. We're all struggling in life. This is where Guru Nanak says, Nanak uttam neech na koi. No one is better or worse than anyone else. We're all in the same boat. We're all stuck. Yeah? So start to create a community of these people. Feel this wisdom. So don't do Gurbani every day. Don't do Nityanem every day if it's a ritual. Do one thing, but do it with your heart. Do it with love. Even if you just did Mool Mantar. Do something, but do it from the heart. And slowly you will start to grow. Change yourself. The Guru gives a beautiful example when he talks about Sangat. And he talks about be the fragrance that is so beautiful that it starts to radiate, and that everything else around you starts to become fragrant with your fragrance. Look at the beauty in these words that the Guru is talking about. Start to take the fragrance from other open-minded spiritual seekers. Spend your time with them. Learn from them. Emotionally connect to the point at which you can become so fragrant, like the flower that then influences others.